The hospital hallway is almost empty. The soft hum of machines echoes faintly through the corridor. Amelia sits on a bench just outside the OR, still wearing her scrubs. Her hands are clasped tightly together, her knuckles white. There's a faint tremor in her fingers that she doesn't even try to hide anymore. Her eyes are red, not from the sterile air of the hospital, but from the storm she's holding back inside. Faint drizzle taps against the window beside her. Outside, the world continues, unaware of the quiet disaster unfolding in her chest. Every drop of rain sounds like a heartbeat, his heartbeat, the one she couldn't save. Her mind replays the moment again and again. The patient's face, the blinking lights, the sound of the monitor turning flat. It's not just a mistake, it's a memory she can't escape. The kind that clings to your skin no matter how many times you scrub in. She whispers to herself, "I did everything right. Didn't I?" But even as the words leave her mouth, she doesn't believe them. The camera slowly pans in on her face, her expression blank, her eyes heavy with guilt. A nurse passes by and hesitates for a second, as if she wants to say something, but Amelia doesn't look up. There's nothing anyone can say that she hasn't already told herself 100 times over. In the distance, a door closes. The echo cuts through the silence like a knife, and Amelia flinches slightly. The small sound feels deafening, reminding her that she's still here when someone else isn't. The narration softens. Some mistakes don't live in charts or reports. They live in the spaces between your breaths, in the moments when no one's watching. The light above her flickers for a second, and she glances up. The camera catches her reflection in the window, a faint, ghostly double image. She looks like a shadow of herself. There's a photo on her phone's lock screen, a child's drawing, something from her niece. She unlocks it, stares for a second, then locks it again. The world outside that tiny glowing screen feels distant, unreachable. As she sits there, the sound of the rain grows louder. It's like the world is crying for her because she can't. She clenches her jaw, forcing herself not to break. The narration fades back in, calm but heavy. In a hospital full of noise, it's the quiet moments that hurt the most, because that's when the ghosts come back. The scene ends with Amelia slowly standing up. She straightens her coat, but her movements are weak, almost mechanical. She looks toward the OR doors, her reflection still faintly visible in the glass. If only guilt could be stitched up, she thinks. If only it could heal like a wound. The camera holds on her for a moment as she turns and walks away, her figure small. Fading into the long corridor of shadows and fluorescent light, the heartbeat monitor sound slowly returns, fading in and out like an echo from the past. And then silence, the rain has stopped, but the sound lingers in Amelia's head like a ghost that refuses to fade. She walks through the dim hospital hallway, her footsteps echoing against the cold tiles. The lights above flicker softly, casting uneven shadows that stretch and twist across the floor. Every corner of this place feels like it's watching her, walls heavy with memories. Doors whispering reminders of what she's lost. She stops near the surgical board, where her name still glows faintly beside the last operation. Her eyes fix on it, unblinking. For a moment, the hallway disappears, and she's back there, in the operating room. The sound of machines fills the air again. The steady rhythm of the heart monitor. The buzz of voices. The sharp command of her own voice saying, "Scalpel." The scene flashes like lightning in her mind, quick, brutal, unstoppable. The patient's pulse begins to drop. She remembers calling for adrenaline, for help, for time. But time didn't listen. It moved forward anyway, leaving her behind. The flashback fades, and she's standing still, gripping the edge of a table as if to keep herself upright. Her reflection in the glass cabinet stares back, pale, tired, haunted. She whispers, almost afraid of her own voice. "Was it me? Did I make the wrong call?" Her voice cracks on the last word. The question doesn't need an answer because she already knows what she believes. She walks toward the locker room. Inside, it's quiet, the kind of quiet that wraps around you until you can't breathe. She opens her locker. Inside hangs her white coat, spotless, neatly pressed, but to her it looks dirty, stained with the memory of that one decision that cost a life. She runs her fingers along the sleeve, and for a second, her breathing falters, her mind starts arguing with itself, one voice calm, another trembling. You did everything you could. Then why isn't he alive? The voices overlap, growing sharper, cutting through her thoughts until she can't tell which one is real. She presses her palms against her temples, trying to silence the noise. Her heartbeat grows louder in her ears, merging with the faint hum of fluorescent lights. She remembers the look on the patient's family's faces, the disbelief, the tears. She remembers standing in front of them, explaining what happened in the most clinical way possible, as if detachment could make it hurt less. But later, when she was alone, she realized that no medical explanation could erase that image. The narration softens, slow and painful. Some moments don't end when the surgery does. They follow you home. They follow you into your dreams. They wait in the quiet, ready to remind you of what you can't undo. She leans against the locker, closing her eyes. The sound of her breath fills the room, short, uneven. Like someone learning how to breathe again. In the mirror across the room, her face looks different, older, exhausted, fragile. The kind of face that's seen too much and still pretends to be strong. She looks at herself for a long time, then mutters, "You were supposed to save him." The words hang in the air, heavy and sharp. A pager beeps faintly in the distance, pulling her back to reality. She wipes her eyes quickly, as if that single act could erase the evidence of her breakdown. She straightens up, but her shoulders sag under the invisible weight she carries. She walks out of the room, her reflection fading behind her, a ghost left standing where she once was. As she passes the OR doors again, the lights flicker, and the faint echo of a flatline hums through her memory. The narration closes this section. Guilt doesn't fade overnight. It lingers, finding its way into every corner of your mind. And sometimes, it's not the mistakes that destroy you. It's the silence that follows. The camera slowly zooms out as Amelia walks away, swallowed by the long, empty hallway. The faint echo of her footsteps blends with the hum of the hospital, a haunting rhythm of life, loss, and the burden of what can never be undone. The hospital feels different at night. The hallways are empty, but they hum with the weight of everything left unsaid. Amelia's shoes drag softly against the floor as she walks, her body moving on instinct, her mind somewhere far away. The world around her feels distant, muted colors, muffled sounds, as if she's underwater and the surface keeps slipping further away. She turns a corner and stops outside the supply room. For a moment, she just stands there, staring at the door like it's something she needs to face. Her hand trembles as she reaches for the handle. The light flickers as she steps inside, washing the room in a pale, tired glow. Shelves of bandages, gloves, and instruments line the walls, all the tools of saving lives. Staring back at someone who feels like she's lost her own purpose, she leans against the counter, gripping its edge until her knuckles turn white. Her breathing grows uneven. Her chest rises and falls too quickly, as if her body is catching up to emotions she's been running from all day. Her eyes dart around, searching for something to focus on. But all she finds is the reflection of her own trembling figure in a metal cabinet. The voiceover begins softly, distant, like a whisper from deep inside her mind. You can fix bones. You can stitch wounds. But you can't fix guilt, can you? Her hand moves to her face. She wipes her tears before they even fall, but they keep coming, slow, silent, endless. The weight of everything she's been holding in begins to collapse inward. Flashbacks flicker again, the bright light of the OR. The noise, the chaos, her voice shouting orders, and then the flatline. The sound is louder now, pressing against her ears until she covers them with her hands. "Stop," she whispers. "Please stop." But it doesn't. The sound keeps ringing. Like a ghost refusing to let her go, she slides down against the cabinet until she's sitting on the cold floor, her knees pulled close to her chest. Her breathing breaks into sobs, small at first, then raw and uncontrollable. Her whole body shakes as if her soul is trying to claw its way out. The narration cuts in again, breaking through the sound of her crying. There's a point where pain stops being loud. It becomes something quieter, heavier. Something that just sits with you, waiting for you to crumble. The camera stays still, a wide shot of her curled up on the floor, surrounded by sterile tools and empty space. It's a haunting image, a surgeon who has held lives in her hands. Now unable to hold herself together, her voice trembles as she speaks between gasps. I was supposed to help him. I was supposed to. The rest of her sentence fades into another sob. She buries her face in her hands, her tears falling onto her scrubs. For once, there are no masks, no composure, no pretending. Just the raw truth, a woman drowning in the guilt she's tried to hide. Minutes pass. Oh, maybe it's hours. The world outside the door continues, but inside this room, time stands still. The fluorescent light buzzes softly, the only witness to her breaking. Slowly, her sobs quiet down. She lifts her head slightly, her eyes swollen, her face streaked with tears. She stares at the surgical gloves hanging on the wall, symbols of precision, control, and safety. She almost laughs, but it comes out as a choked breath. Control, she whispers bitterly. I thought I had control. She closes her eyes and takes a deep breath, the kind that shakes your whole body on the way out. The camera zooms in on her face, not for beauty, but for truth. Every line, every shadow tells a story of exhaustion, of someone who spent too long pretending to be okay. The narration returns. Softer this time, no longer a whisper, but a fragile acceptance. Sometimes it's not the loss that breaks you. It's the moment you realize you can't go back to who you were before it. She presses her hand against the floor and slowly pushes herself up. Her movements are slow, trembling, but deliberate. The kind of movement that says, I'm still here, even if I don't know how. She turns to leave, but stops by the mirror again. Her reflection stares back, eyes red, hair messy, face pale. But for the first time, she doesn't look away. She just looks. Really looks. A single tear slides down her cheek. But her lips press into the faintest, most fragile curve, not a smile. But the shadow of strength. The voiceover fades with a final line. And in the quiet aftermath of breaking, she realizes maybe this is what healing looks like before it begins. The screen fades to black, leaving only the sound of her breath, slow, steady, real. The morning light creeps through the blinds like a quiet apology. It paints the walls in soft gold, touching the edges of the hospital corridor that, for the first time in a long while, doesn't feel like a battlefield. Amelia sits on the floor beside a window, her back against the cold wall, her eyes half open. She hasn't slept. Not really. But the storm inside her chest has calmed, not gone, just quieter. Like the ocean after the waves have torn themselves out, outside the city begins to wake. The distant sound of cars, voices, life. She watches the sunrise without moving, her fingers tracing patterns on the edge of her scrub sleeve. There's something in that light, not forgiveness. Not yet, but the faintest. Promise that maybe she can learn to live with herself again. The camera lingers on her profile as the narration begins. Slow and tender. They say time heals everything. But time doesn't heal. People do, one breath at a time. One choice at a time. A nurse walks past her, offering a small smile. Amelia doesn't smile back, not fully, but there's a flicker in her eyes, acknowledgement, maybe even gratitude. She stands up slowly, brushing the dust off her scrubs. The hospital hums back to life around her, the world moving forward as if it never paused. For the first time, she doesn't resent it. She walks down the hallway, the same one where she sat alone hours ago. But now the light filters differently. The floor gleams under the sunlight. The silence feels lighter. The same ghosts still follow her, but they don't press as hard against her shoulders. Her steps lead her to the hospital chapel. She hesitates before entering, her hand lingering on the wooden door. Inside, the air is still, filled with the faint scent of candles and lilac. A few people sit scattered in the pews, their heads bowed, their stories unknown but somehow familiar. She takes a seat in the back, far from everyone else, her fingers intertwined, not in prayer, but in quiet reflection. The camera focuses on her hands, no gloves, no mask, just skin and silence. The voiceover continues. Guilt never leaves completely. It stays, softer with time, like a scar you stop hiding. You don't erase the past, you learn to live beside it. Her eyes close. The music underneath swells, soft piano, gentle strings. In her mind, she sees flashes of the man she lost. Not the last moment, not the failure, but his laughter, his hope, the reason she tried so hard in the first place. For the first time, the memory doesn't hurt as sharply. It feels like a whisper of something human. She opens her eyes again, exhaling slowly. It's shaky, uneven, but it's real. That's enough. A fellow doctor enters the chapel quietly and notices her. He pauses, unsure if he should approach. Amelia senses him but doesn't turn. After a long moment, she says softly, "It's okay, sit." He does. No words pass between them. They just sit in silence. Two people bound by a shared understanding that sometimes silence is the only language grief understands. Cut to the next scene. Amelia in the locker room, tying her hair back. Her reflection in the mirror is still tired but steadier. She takes her coat from the locker, the same one she couldn't bear to touch before. This time she puts it on. Slowly, deliberately. The motion is symbolic. Not of forgetting, but of returning. As she buttons the coat. The narration returns. Healing doesn't come when the pain stops. It comes when you choose to keep walking, even when it still hurts. The sound of her pager cuts through the silence. A new emergency. She glances at it, and for a moment fear flickers across her face. But then she breathes in one deep, grounding breath and steps out of the locker room. The camera follows her from behind as she walks toward the OR, the same hallway that once swallowed her. In darkness now glows with morning light. Doctors pass her nodding. The hum of voices, footsteps, life returning. The shot lingers on her silhouette, no face. Just her outline framed against the brightness ahead. She stops at the door, placing a hand on the cold metal handle. Her fingers linger there for a heartbeat. You can almost hear her thoughts, the doubt, the fear, the whisper of the past. But she pushes the door open anyway. The light floods the screen, white, blinding, pure. Maybe redemption isn't found in saving everyone, the narration says softly. Maybe it's found in learning how to keep trying. The camera pans up as she walks into the OR, disappearing into the brightness. The sound of the machines hums faintly, then blends into the rhythm of her heartbeat, steady, alive, human. Fade to black, a final line appears on the screen in white text. You can't heal what you don't face. And sometimes facing it is the bravest thing you'll ever do. Soft piano fades out. Silence follows, but this time it feels like peace.